2-0 start to the season for the Mavericks. Luka's been amazing so far. I think through the first two games, either him and SGA have been the best two individual performers at this point. 33 in game one against the Spurs, 49 in a comeback win against the Nets just last night. My question to you guys is this, right? We talk a lot about this Mavericks team. They've been really weird the last couple of seasons. They've kind of jumped in and out of contention conversation. Just like one year they are, the next year they're nowhere close to being a contending team. And this year, like, what do you guys think about this Mavericks team? Do you guys think they're a legitimate title contender at all this season?
No, bro. Defensively, they're still leaving a lot to be desired, which is kind of crazy thinking that's. I know that's something that they tried to show up this offseason, especially with the signing of Grant.
Yeah.
You know, you draft Derek Lively. But it's just the same as last year. I mean, it might be even worse. I know you're only 2 games in, but you're giving up all these points to the Nets and then San Antonio. It's just like, damn. I've always thought that this team, since they got Kyrie, I've always felt like they gave up too much for him. They lost some of their depth and just how that team was built. And I still think that team is just a very poorly built team.
Yeah. I wouldn't say necessarily that poorly. Is it great? No, it's more so okay and average, if anything, because like I would say this, the team is top heavy as hell. Like I feel like that's the issue. Like it's extremely top heavy because basically after Kyrie and like Luka, who's really a threat on the team to where you're looking on the scouting report. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure they evaluate everybody on the scouting report, the opposing team, but it's just like I'm not worried about anybody outside of those two. I'm being honest. True. And on defense, we all know Luka and Kyrie aren't known as being great defenders. So it's just like, what's the trade-off going to be if you're going to try to outscore everybody, at least have some type of defense that you're going to play to like bother teams, but they don't. So it's just like, I don't know.
It's really weird. So I agree with what both of you guys said, especially Carl, the point about there's not really anybody outside of those two. And the Mavericks don't run a good enough offensive system to not have that much talent outside of Luka and Kyrie, right? Like let's look at the Nuggets. Last season, two best guys are Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray. Is there an elite shot creator after those two on that team?
No.
Not really, right? Like they're good enough shot creators. MPJ is really streaky, and I don't know how much of a fan I am of him, but there aren't a lot of elite shot creators. There are guys who play their roles at a high level, but they run such a good enough system that they're able to get the best out of those role players outside of their two best guys. And that's not the case with this Mavericks team. If they ran a different offensive system where it wasn't so ISO heavy and things like that, and again, we'll see how advanced it gets as the season gets on. But if they ran a different offensive system, maybe we'll get a little bit more out of those role players, like Grant Williams and things like that. And maybe we'll be a little more confident of them. But that's the thing is this offense, I feel like, I like them from that standpoint. Jason Timpf on The Volume was talking about this. If they're able to keep games close, it's tough seeing somebody. It's tough seeing somebody beat Luka and Kyrie in closeout situations, right? Like those are two of the best closeout guys in the NBA. But at some point, you've got to figure out the defensive thing. And Blake said it. They addressed that issue in the offseason. Grant Williams, Derek Lively, also like Derek Jones, right? Who's just really good. He's starting because of his defense. There's Josh Green. Maxi Kleber's always been known as a pretty good, team defender and everything. Dante Exum, who they resurrected just to come in and play some defense, and then they've given up 119, I think, to the Spurs the other night, and then obviously last night 120 to a team that's not advanced offensively at all. So that's the thing to watch out for. I don't know why they're bad on defense. And I don't think it's because of the Kyrie thing, because even last year before the Kyrie trade, they sucked on defense, even with Dorian Finney-Smith there, which was weird because the season before they were one of the best defensive teams in the league. Then they just fell off.
I don't know. I'm just thinking like they're going to be in a lot of close games because these first two games, obviously, they've been games that have to close out, especially in the last, few minutes or whatever. You don't want to be that team that's going to be playing in a lot of close games. Sometimes, occasionally, you want those 10-point wins. You want those blowout wins because they just give you time to kind of chill out and relax. Like, if you're in constant close games, that's just going to make your team tired, especially if you get towards the playoffs. Like I saw with the Lakers last year, like they were in, I would tell you, I was like, damn, why do they play in so many damn close games? Do they ever have a blowout win?
Yeah.
Like, that's the problem they had the first couple games this season. But even with the Mavericks, like, I feel like they shouldn't have this many close games because it's never going to be a good thing. to have that many close games in the season.
After a while, you're gonna start dropping those, and that's them close.
Yep.
They take a lot out of you.
Yep. And it'd be different if they're like these gritty, like low scoring close games. That's not the case. They're like these shootouts. And they're shootouts against subpar teams. You know what I'm saying? Like, so, and again, it's 2 games in, but that's a concerning thing for them because we know Blake said it that we wanted them to get better on the defensive end. They dedicated their whole summer to that. It really wasn't that hard to get who they got. They got really good defensive guys in the offseason, and they can't guard. And they're having to resort to going zone like too many possessions. I'm like, you have a good enough amount of guys who can guard man to man, but you're just relying on going zone, and you're getting your zones torn up. I don't know what it's been about this Mavericks defense to where 2022 they make the Western Conference Finals. Then after that, they just can't play defense anymore. Like it's just the weirdest thing in the world to me. And I think that's one thing that's just keeping them from, I think, actually being a contender is what are they going to do from a defensive standpoint? Again, it's early. We'll see what fixes they end up making. We'll see if they're able to just magically turn it up on that end. But the first 2 have been wins. Luka's been great. But the thing we wanted to see from them is defense. And then first couple of games this season are about impressions. And I'm not impressed about them from a defensive standpoint at all so far. Again, it's early, too early. But that's just something to keep an eye on the rest of the way down for the season for this team.
Yeah. And even offensively, like I feel like they're great offensively, obviously. But do you think Kyrie fits Luka's game perfectly? I feel like even though they can be great offensively, because 2 things can't be true. You can be great offensively still, but you can still leave something on the court that's more desired to watch, obviously. But I don't know if Kyrie game fits Luka game because they both like need the ball in their hands a lot.
I think it does.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like a weird way they do because Luka isn't just a scorer. You can pass the ball too, but I don't know. It's kind of like a weird fit that those 2 kind of go together. Like they can both be players without.
They do. So just weird. Yeah, it's just weird. That's a good point. They do because Kyrie can play off the ball like he's proven it. It's just weird seeing them play. Like it's always weird to me passing the ball to one superstar. He's dribbling the ball for like 15 or 20 seconds of shot clock. Everybody's just standing. I hate that shit.
Yeah,
that's what bothers me.
I agree with that. Like that offense isn't something that's going to be sustainable. Like if that's the way you want to play it, I think Kyrie can play with any superstar in the NBA. Like he played with Harden and KD and LeBron. Like Kyrie knows how to. Kyrie can be interchangeable. He can be the one or the 2 just like that. But I agree that offense, if it's going to be so one player based every possession, that's not winning. We've how many times have we seen that? It's just not winning basketball. So we'll see how they figure that part out. And maybe that third shot creator should be Tim Hardaway Jr. because Carl, you asked who the other guy's going to be, but at this point, I don't know.
I'm surprised he didn't get traded yet.
We're off of him at this point with the Tim Hardaway Jr. thing, and we'll see because it's 2 games in. But those are the things that we want to see from them for us to look at them as legit title contenders at this point. Hopefully they make those defensive fixes because it's been bad. I have liked Derek Lively early, like. A lot of people talked about Wemby's debut. Derek Lively was hella good in that game as well. Like he was really, really good in that game too. And I'm excited to see what he does this season. People recognize what type of impact he can end up making in his first year. A lot of Tyson Chandler comparisons. And if he's able to turn into that type of player, at least maybe a little bit more switchable as a defender at the 5, then that's a big plus for Dallas. But it's all going to come down to what they do defensively. These high-scoring offensive performances aren't convincing enough for anybody. Like I said, first couple of games are about impressions, and we haven't been that impressed from what we've seen so far from Dallas, even though they've been 2-0, giving up this many points to these subpar teams.
Yeah. You would say, what would you think is the ceiling on Jason Kidd, Todd? Because you mentioned like he might not be here after this season. Like, what do you think is the ceiling for him to keep his job?
They have to
not keep his job. I don't know.
I mean, they have to.
They get bounced at like the first and second round.
Yeah.
So they got to make the conference finals for him to keep his job.
Yeah,
they ain't doing that. I don't see them making it.
They've made it with less talented rosters. Like they made it in 2022. I'm not sure why they fell off after that.
They did, but their defense wasn't this bad.
It was dominant. That's exactly why. Like it was a dominant defense. I don't know why it got worse.
People go realize defense is always going to be the thing that's going to be like. If anything, offense is not going to be as consistent as defense, in my opinion. Like the thing that people say defense wins you championships, that can go across all sports, and it's true. That's why that's why you see the Lakers when they're at their best over the last 5 or 6 years. When they're at their best, it's because they're an elite defensive team.
Yeah,
not offense, defense. You
know what it reminds me of, Blake? You guys, the Hawks. You You guys were so good defensively. I think in 2021, was it 2021? You made the Eastern Conference Finals. Yep. And then it was Nate McMillan who came in and changed it defensively. And then after that, you guys magically couldn't play defense anymore. Like same thing. Like Jason Kidd comes in 2022. They surprisingly are one of the best defensive teams in the NBA on a Luka Doncic led team. 2022, get off to a bad defensive.
Just goes somewhere else.
Yep. So it's just I don't know what it is. So I think by mid-season, if they're like, I don't think it'll be a mid-season coaching. They have to be fucking bad for them to hire for them to fire a mid-season. But I agree, if they can't get back to the Western Conference Finals, you still have two superstars in this roster. If they can't get back there, then I think Jason Kidd they're probably going to phase him out and go in a different direction as a coach. And he probably won't be a head coach again.
I was just about to say maybe back to assistant coach. This is what his third year coach is.
Yep. He had the Nets. And he had the Bucks, and they've been decent, but they haven't been like
they've been 500 or above kind of teams. Like, but Jason Kidd, but Jason Kidd might have to turn into a man and go find him a real job somewhere or something like that.
You crazy?
That was a dumb.
Or you can come out of retirement, bro, and just go out there and guard some guys. Just take breaks.
You stupid. Ain't no way. I remember the Lakers could have hired him at one point because he was on their coaching staff, but I don't know.
Sure was.
Probably glad they didn't, I guess.
Yeah.